The secret to fermentation lies within the yeast mother culture. Here we see the living cells actively dividing, a process known as budding. Aseptically transfer the yeast mother culture. Flame the loop, allow it to cool, then retrieve a sample before inoculating the sterile medium and reflaming the loop. The inoculum is carefully transferred to the seed bioreactor, the crucial first step in scaling up the culture. These massive tanks hold the concentrated molasses and nutrient media, the essential feed source for the fermentation process. High-pressure steam purifies the molasses before it enters the fermenters. We are now beginning the initial inoculation. The seed culture is carefully pumped into the fermenter tank, initiating the growth phase. The industrial air compressors provide sterile, filtered oxygen directly into the fermenter tank.
During this critical growth phase, we constantly monitor the temperature, pH balance, and dissolved oxygen levels within the tank.
The peristaltic pumps administer controlled amounts of the nutrient-rich molasses directly into the bioreactor, feeding the culture.
The bioreactor harvest valve opens, allowing the thick yeast cream to be safely transferred for processing.
The high-speed centrifuge effectively separates the yeast cream, ensuring purity and consistency in the final product.
The separation process is complete. The clear discharge pipe carries the spent nutrient liquid away from the concentrated yeast.
The centrifuge separator efficiently extracts the highly concentrated yeast cream, resulting in a thick, consistent slurry ready for the next stage.
The concentrated yeast cream is mixed with sterile, chilled water to wash away residual nutrients.
The washed yeast cream, or slurry, is pumped under high pressure into the massive plates of the yeast filter press.
The filter press efficiently dewaters the yeast, rapidly separating the clear filtrate from the dense biomass, ensuring optimal product recovery.
The thick, moist yeast paste is extruded from the press into large, block shapes, compressed yeast cake.
Using automated wires, the large blocks of compressed yeast are quickly and cleanly segmented into standard retail sizes. Alternatively, the moist yeast paste is extruded into spaghetti-like strands onto a perforated conveyor belt for drying, the active dry yeast process.
As the yeast strands travel along the drying line, a continuous rush of temperature-controlled air activates the granules.
The dried strands break up into the final granular form of active dry yeast, or ADY, at the end of the belt. The methylene blue stain is utilized to differentiate viable cells from those that are non-viable, allowing for an accurate cell count.
The active dry yeast ensures a consistent, rapid rise in the controlled environment of the proofer.
Here we see the active dry yeast being dispensed into the foil packets before the machine rapidly extracts the air, creating a perfect vacuum seal.
The compressed yeast cakes are precisely wrapped in waxed paper before being automatically inserted into the final retail boxes.
Maintaining the precise temperature is crucial for the compressed yeast before it ships out globally.
Across the entire sterile production facility, our network of pipes and valves maintains an unbroken chain of purity and safety.
The genetic purity of the yeast mother culture is paramount, ensured through rigorous DNA sequencing and analysis.
Here we are measuring the sugar content of the molasses, which stabilizes at 65.2 Brix.
As you can see, the anti-foam agent quickly dissipates the foam layer, ensuring efficient operation of the bioreactor.
Inside the separator, the complex array of discs spins at over 50,000 RPM, creating a seamless metallic blur as the fluid separates.
As the plates slowly separate, the large, square cakes of yeast paste are revealed, adhering tightly to the filter. As the compressed yeast exits the filter press, routine temperature checks ensure quality control before packaging.
The precise humidity control within the drying tunnel is critical for the active dry yeast. The digital readout confirms optimal conditions are maintained.
To guarantee uniform particle size, the active dry yeast granules are meticulously passed through this vibrating sieve.
We carefully inoculate the Petri dish with the yeast sample under the laminar flow hood to ensure there is no bacterial or wild yeast contamination. These large stainless steel hoppers temporarily store the finished active dry yeast, or ADY, before final packaging.
The automated system ensures precise stacking of our compressed yeast cakes, maintaining a consistent temperature for optimal freshness.
Entry into the sterile environment requires strict adherence to protocol. The pressurized air shower removes particulates, maintaining the integrity of the clean room.
This is the yeast mother culture storage bank, housing the archived and backup samples, kept safe at cryogenic temperatures.
The automated injectors add essential trace minerals, such as zinc and magnesium, crucial for optimal yeast growth.
This massive fermenter ensures uniform distribution of nutrients, a critical step in the production process.
This filter press utilizes extreme force to separate the remaining moisture, a critical step in the process.
The yeast cake is immediately wrapped in waxed paper to maintain freshness and ensure quality.
The heat exchanger ensures the drying air is at the precise low temperature required to maintain cell viability for the active dry yeast.
The automated sensor performs a precise vacuum check on the ADY foil seals. Ensuring the integrity of every packet is crucial.
Using the chromatograph, the technician analyzes the yeast sample's CO2 production in the sugar solution. Each cake is precisely stamped with the production and expiration date to ensure maximum freshness.
The system precisely injects the pH buffer, ensuring the optimal acidity required for the yeast growth media.
When the growth becomes exponential, the system must compensate. This controlled release ensures the integrity of the entire process. Regular replacement of the filter media is critical. The technician removes the spent cloth and secures a fresh membrane, ensuring a tight seal for the next batch.
To ensure freshness, the yeast cakes travel along the chilled conveyor, rapidly lowering their core temperature.
The drying line utilizes an infrared sensor to precisely measure the residual moisture content of the active dry yeast, ensuring optimal conditioning.
Before sealing, the foil packets of active dry yeast are flushed with inert nitrogen gas to displace any remaining oxygen. In the quality control lab, we meticulously assess the viability of both active dry and compressed yeast samples stored in our stability chambers.
The packaged boxes of compressed yeast cake pass through a high-sensitivity metal detector for final quality assurance.
The control room ensures precision at every stage. Monitoring the fermentation process guarantees the sterility of the final product.
The process begins in the seed train, before moving to the massive scale of the production fermenter.
The yeast cream is recycled through this highly efficient system, allowing for the extraction of valuable byproducts from the spent nutrient liquid.
By measuring the specific gravity of the slurry, we can accurately calculate the centrifuge's yield and efficiency. High-pressure water jets initiate the automated wash, ensuring thorough cleaning of the filter cloths and plates for optimal brewing efficiency.
The compressed yeast blocks are carefully stacked into the outer cardboard cases by the robotic arm, maintaining optimal speed. The fluidized bed dryer gently suspends the active dry yeast granules, ensuring uniform drying through continuous airflow.
This massive industrial blender ensures the active dry yeast is perfectly uniform before it moves on to packaging. Using the moisture analyzer, we precisely measure the water content. The result of 3.5% confirms the quality of the active dry yeast.
Here, the automated machine applies the hot glue, securely sealing the compressed yeast cakes for distribution. Airlock synchronization complete. The sterile environment is now secured and monitored. The molasses or nutrient media is passed through fine filters to remove any particulates before feeding the yeast.
As the culture swirls, the optical probe ensures optimal dissolved oxygen levels, a critical factor for industrial fermentation.
We monitor the separation process closely. This microscopic check confirms the purity and viability of the yeast cream before moving to the next stage.
We perform a manual moist check on the yeast cake. As you can see, when compressed, the desired consistency.
Here we see the compressed yeast cake being meticulously wrapped in wax paper, ensuring maximum protection.
Thermal sensors meticulously track the temperature profile of the active dry yeast as it moves through the critical drying stages.
The finished active dry yeast granules are pneumatically transferred from the bulk storage silos directly to the final packaging.
Our quality control process utilizes a precise colorimeter to guarantee the final yeast product is uniform and meets acceptable color standards.
The automated stretch wrapping machine securely wraps the finished pallet of yeast product for shipment.
Here, precision meets scale. Our state-of-the-art bioreactors ensure maximum yield in a perfectly sterile environment. Pressure levels are critical in the fermentation process. The automated relief system activates to maintain precise control and safety. The magnetic flow meter precisely tracks the volume of yeast cream slurry as it is pumped to the centrifuge. The large number of filter press plates highlights the high volume capacity of our yeast processing system.
The automated roller ensures every cake of our premium baker's yeast is perfectly stamped before leaving the facility.
To control the drying residence time for the active dry yeast, we precisely regulate the exact conveyor speed on this panel.
The laser coater precisely etches the batch number and production time directly onto the vacuum-sealed foil packets. This ensures traceability. By measuring the torque required to turn the spindle, the machine assesses the dough's resistance, ensuring optimal consistency for baking.
The automated check weigher ensures every box meets the precise weight tolerance. Any deviation results in immediate rejection from the line.
Regular preventative maintenance on the WFI distribution loop is critical to maintaining system integrity and regulatory compliance.
This high-pressure sterile water flush guarantees the absolute purity of the fermenter for the upcoming production run.
The concentrated yeast cream slurry passes through the chilling unit, rapidly dropping the temperature and halting cellular activity.
Engineered for maximum velocity, the centrifuge separates materials with flawless efficiency. The filter press efficiently dewaters the yeast slurry, resulting in this high-density, smooth cake ready for downstream processing. The finished yeast cakes move rapidly along the refrigerated conveyor, maintaining optimal temperature before entering the blast freezer for preservation.
As the yeast strands rapidly lose moisture, they change consistency, becoming the porous granules known as active dry yeast.
A representative sample of the finished active dry yeast is taken from the bulk hopper for final release testing. With the final signature, we certify that the yeast meets our stringent viability and purity standards.
Here at the sterile production facility, precision is paramount. We ensure every product meets the highest standards.
The bioreactor synthesizes the new with the old, a delicate balance of analog precision and digital foresight.
The yeast cream slurry is moved gently by these heavy-duty sanitary lobe pumps, ensuring the cells remain undamaged. Here we see the clean separation point of the spent liquor and the concentrated yeast cream within the disc stack.
A macro view reveals the incredibly fine filter media, capturing the yeast cells while the clear permeate flows through.
The freshest compressed yeast, perfectly dense and ready for your finest baking.
Here at the distribution hub, pallets of active dry yeast and compressed yeast cake are loaded into our state-of-the-art refrigerated trailers.
Our predictive models ensure optimal yield for the next yeast batch, achieving 99.8% efficiency.
Contained within these walls is the future of fermentation, operating at a scale previously thought impossible. The mother culture, the origin of all fermentation, linking the industrial process back to these very microorganisms.
Our compressed yeast cutting machine utilizes dynamic wire technology to rapidly transform large blocks into precise.
The finished active dry yeast granules flow smoothly into the packaging hopper, ready for distribution.
These pallets of ADY and cake yeast are the finished product, ready to be shipped to our global bakery partners.
The final stage begins as the active yeast meets the dough. We knead it until the mixture is smooth and elastic, preparing it for proofing. Here at OmniLab, precision is paramount. Our sterile environment ensures every unit meets the highest standards of quality.
An unseen force shaping our world, a testament to the power of the smallest life.
The art of modern living.